begins in rooms like this. Don't forget it. The large meeting, you can go to a GC meeting, or you can gather together like this, in a room like this. You can discuss ideas, you can be inspired, you can come from a progressive place, that same progressive place that so many of our heroes, particularly those that fought for independence back in the old room like this, they'd get together. And what are we going to do to change this? Who have we, how are we going to build a country? Let's invent. Can you imagine? I sometimes say to people, people forget after the Second World War. That's something pretty special. And so these meetings are important. Our values are important. You can get very low when you see all that's happening around us, but we live for hope, and our values represent that hope. And that's why I'm very pleased to support Heidi, to encourage you.
That you might quite like to ask in this. So if anyone's got any questions, Mahmoudi, you've got a question. Oh yeah, you've got.
How far the action taken against the procedure of or declaration of the closure of any of the Lucian hospital?
And that's probably one for me, actually.
Well, I can give you the generality. They came into office pledging that they would stand up for local people and defend emergency care and A&E services. Constantly, they're coming back to say, we want to get rid of this emergency service. And, once you've lost the A&E, as you know, really you're talking about a complete downgrading of a hospital. So you have to fight the battle. And I've heard Heidi choosing every opportunity to raise the issue in the House of Commons. So we all know about it. We all feel it's issue. Because it keeps coming up. Heidi, you've got the specifics.
Yeah, well, I think the first thing to say is that when David Cameron came into government, he was saying that he was going to cut the deficit and not the NHS. But the reality is the exact opposite is happening. He's cutting the NHS and he's not cutting the deficit. And we're feeling the impact of that in Lewisham at the moment. We handed in our petition at number 10 Downing Street last Friday. We had 32,186 signatures on that petition, and we collected those signatures in just 5 weeks. And I think that really demonstrates the anger and concern that exists about the potential closure of the A&E and maternity services there. And we will continue to fight our fight. I'm just writing a speech actually for this Wednesday because we've got a debate on health on Wednesday afternoon, so I want to speak in that debate and actually continue the campaign that way as well. Has anyone got any other questions for David?
Mahmoud is ex-councillor, Labour councillor from Lewisham. And I heard about your role. It is possible to you can tell us just in a very nutshell what is content and where can I get all of it?
Oh, well, I was meant to bring a copy, so I can run back and try and get one. It's really a book about I'm concerned about materialism and consumerism. I'm concerned about parts of our popular culture, as Heidi has been pushing, that seem to glorify violence and go unchecked. I'm concerned about fatherhood and the role of men in communities, because I think this is a real issue. I'm concerned about prisons and a situation in which 75% of young offenders go on to re-offend. So this says to me that the prison system isn't working. So I was between my road and Broadwater Farm, which were actually about 600 yards from each other growing up. I've watched that estate go from being a working class estate, like so many of our estates, to being a workless class estate. Not a feral underclass. I don't believe in describing people as if they're rodents, like we've heard the Conservatives describing people, but workless class. It's about having no work. And what happens when successive generations have no work and all that flows from it. So I'm very concerned about that as well. And I, explore all those issues through the lens of the riots, and do. It's an easy route.
Right, we've got a question from this young man.
I was going to ask what are the reasons why
What do I think triggered it? Well, all riots take a spark, and in this case, that spark was the death of Mark Duggan in Tottenham, 4 o'clock in the afternoon. Died at the hands of the police. All riots take a spark. It doesn't matter whether you're in Brixton or Tottenham in the 1980s, Bradford or Oldham in the beginning of this period, or back in Harlem or Paris. It always starts with a spark, and that spark is usually an act of perceived violence by the police. But you then have to get back from the spark. In the early days of these riots, some of the journalists, it was August, so a lot of the good journalists on holiday, they wanted to write these riots up like race riots. But very quickly it became clear these weren't race riots, because these were involving people of all races from all different parts of the country. And I saw some images of some people making themselves a hamburger in the McDonald's in Coldharbour Lane in Brixton. That was not, for me, a race riot. So this was about having no stake in society. What happens when certain groups of people feel no shame? What happens when there's really, really bad policing? And the truth is, the policing, there was a vacuum here. There was a vacuum. The police have, I think, accepted that some things went wrong. Because every day after day, where are the police? The other thing was technology. Have you got a BlackBerry Messenger? These messages flying around on closed networks, people could organise, the police can't see what's going on, and so a number of things collide together that create the environment for riots.
So I wanted to say a couple of things. Okay, great eloquent speech, really love what you had to say. My issue is that your voice isn't the voice of the Labour Party, because that's not what they say in public. The thing that's really got me is when the Tories are complaining about the, how do they describe it now, the people who are sitting at home not working, who are claiming benefit unfairly, that's what injustice is. I don't hear Labour ministers challenging that. If anything, you're pandering to it. So what we're seeing is one thing coming from people like you saying, oh, there's a message out there, we want to get back to the bad news. But the Labour leadership are just too busy trying to get re-elected, and they think to be re-elected, what they have to do is pander to the popular press, continue with this argument that, somehow or another, it's the poor, it's the working class, who've caused the problem in the country as opposed to their rich friends and their rich bankers. And all the Labour Party does is agree with it. When you lost the last election, they started this myth that you call.
If you go into the community, look at their local issues, and even come out to that. Go into the school. There was someone killed outside Deptford School about a few months ago.